What's going on, everyone? Is it working? Okay, cool. It is. Good morning. Just finished a workout here in my home gym. If you haven't seen my home gym, check it out. Let me show you what we got here. We got a treadmill. We got all our mobility stuff over there. Got a 300-pound lat pull down. Got dumbbells up to 110. Got a functional trainer over here. We got a little rack of stuff over here, some goodies. Got this old school Icarian leg press. We got belt squat. Whoa. Extension curl, primarily warm up, a little bit of isolation stuff. Yep, functional movement, still doing some isolation. You got me. And then we got rogue squat rack. And then we got a deadlift platform. And we got bumper weights to do deadlifts. All right. Anyway, now we showed off the home gym. So I was trying to think of a topic to talk about this morning. I was thinking about something that happened yesterday in our shift when I was seeing patients, and this thought just kind of resonated through my mind because I remember hearing this at original seminars that I went to back in the day. Good morning, Brandy Hunter. Brandy is our doctor support, and she's also our office manager at our clinic, Gonstead Spine and Wellness, and we're gonna start seeing patients here in a little bit. So I only have a few minutes to do Facebook Live, but I figured I would share some thoughts early in the morning, and especially because I have this new wireless mic and I can stand further away, and it makes it way cooler than having to get up in your grill on this iPhone. So anyway, I wanted to make this a nice compelling topic about being infected with the truth. And so I'll tell you a story way back originally. I remember when I went to the Gonstead seminars. And this is not a plug for Gonstead. This is just whatever technique that is near and dear to you. When you learn something that's awesome that can change the lives of your patients, you get exposed to something, right? And I remember when I went to a Gonstead seminar and I'm learning about how they're checking the spine and how they're adjusting, how specific it is, and the x-ray analysis and all of that stuff, and have this methodical, systematic approach. I remember my mentor, who I ended up working for 9 years, and I learned a ton from in communication and technique and all of this, Dr. Mike Rosenblum. He was the main speaker at the Gonstead seminars that everyone wanted to come and listen to because he was so motivational. He'd get everyone just on fire. And I remember at the end of a 2-day seminar, we'd all be sitting around. There'd be students, there'd be seasoned doctors, usually 250 or so people at these seminars, so they weren't small seminars. And he'd be up there speaking in front of everyone, and he'd get riled up. He'd be yelling a little bit. And he would talk about, you've now been infected with the truth, okay? Meaning you can't unsee something once you see it. Like if you learn a better way compared to what you've been doing, if you try to pretend you haven't seen it, or like rationalize that, well, maybe it doesn't really work, or whatever things that we tell ourselves to justify not engaging and not implementing and not doing it, that's a thing we all have to live with. And some of us are okay with that. I know that I've never been okay with that. And it's not to say that your ideas don't change and you evolve throughout time, but at that time, learning that specific method of how to take care of someone, that was better than anything else than I had learned up to that point. And there was nothing else that came in front of me that made more sense or had more logic or more reasoning or more whatever that really appealed to me. So I was infected with the truth, okay? Then moved on from there, practiced for 8+ years just doing straight adjusting only, wanted to do more for my patients, learned about curve correction, stumbled upon chiropractic biophysics. Again, I think got infected with the truth. Like you couldn't unsee the fact that you could make these changes and it would help people to this huge extent that I wasn't doing before. So now in combination, doing CBP curve correction with Gonstead, it was like, okay, well, this is a little bit more complex, takes a little bit more effort. It's going to take more time and energy and more systems, but it's worth it. And like this last weekend at the Impact event, something we kept talking about is the juice worth the squeeze? And in this case, it was. The squeeze was having to repurpose a room in our clinic, me having to go to the doctor that I work for, Dr. Mike, and propose this idea of bringing this type of spinal rehab into a primarily adjustment-only clinic. He was okay with it. He approved it, because he was in charge. It was his clinic. Brought it in place. My wife came in. She ran the traction. I hired a couple of employees under my wife that she then pretty much managed, and it blew up. And I doubled what I was doing in practice in 2 months. Doubled my patient count. Doubled what was coming in. It was nuts, because I was stagnant. I was at a certain level for so long in practice, and then it was like boom, this catalyst, right? So those were things I couldn't unsee. I was again infected with the truth. And then from there, I just knew there was things we were still not addressing with our patients. I knew there was these cases that you could adjust them all day long, you could traction them until they were blue in the face, but they weren't really doing the home care to the extent that they needed to do. And that was like this accepted thing. Like, yep, patients just don't do home care, and that's just how it is. And I knew we weren't really addressing mobility, stability, we weren't building any strength and power, and we were trying to farm that out and, crossing our fingers that someone else was gonna do that for us, and, just kind of pretend that it wasn't happening. So almost to the extent, again, of like being infected with the truth of, I knew better because I exercised, and I knew the importance of, training and practicing mobility and reinforcing stability, and hadn't learned it in a formal setting yet, but I knew it was important, and I knew my patients weren't doing it, and I knew that was a big missing piece. So I started getting formally trained in it. Started going to all the different functional movement seminars, reading everything that I could, trying to put it together, realized they didn't have anything set up for chiropractors. Some chiropractors that were doing it had very personality-driven, dependent exercise people that didn't really follow systems, but those people just knew a ton of stuff, and so they would just throw stuff at their patients, and I guess it worked. I don't know, I'd never been to their clinics, but from what I had heard, it kind of worked, but it wasn't really duplicable. So as I'm learning this, I then got infected with the truth again, and I couldn't sleep at night until I was doing this for my patients. Every patient that I saw, as I'm trying to learn this stuff, I felt like if I didn't give them this, I was selling them short. I was missing things in their care. I wasn't getting them as stable or getting them the results as quick enough because I knew I wasn't addressing this thing. And I was already doing Gonstead and chiropractic biophysics, and kind of, like that saying of building the plane as you're flying it, because it was already in motion. I couldn't shut down the practice and stop and say, okay, I'll wait till I have this perfect and then I'll do it. So it was lots of long nights, early mornings, building, learning, studying, trying to put this thing together. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the product that we were left with is something where now in practice 17 years later, the goal for myself as a practitioner is not how do I see more people myself, but really the goal is how do I do a more complete level of care for each individual. And as things grow, that's where we grow, and we have other doctors. So I have an associate doctor, Dr. Zach. He's growing his practice. And what's going to happen is, as everything continues to grow with some new ventures that we're doing right now, getting a little bit more into the whole injury arena, because that is an underserved population for sure, that is going to people that do not have the knowledge, the know-how, the rehab background that our Move Now doctors do. That's something we need to take over and capitalize on. Things are just going like this. And so that's where it pours over into other practitioners. We cap out how many people we can see as a practitioner, which is much, much less than what I was taught back in the day as far as how to be successful as a chiropractor. You have to grind and see hundreds and hundreds of people a week. To me, that sounds like a freaking nightmare. I mean, like, that is not what I want to do. What I want to do is have really great case management with each patient, have each patient engage and actually change their life, have a different lifestyle, be doing the home care that we teach them at home forever, for the rest of their life, because they understand it, because it connected with them, because they understand health and lifestyle and chiropractic like we do and like we live it. That has now become my goal. So you will never see anything from us saying, here's how you see 500 people a week. No. It's about outcomes. It's about transformation. It's about being unique in your community, setting a precedence, and having a reputation of that's the place that helps transform and fix people. Okay, so yesterday what happened, and I know the whole title of this was about what a patient had said yesterday, it was basically a conversation that I had with a couple of patients yesterday, and then it was this really nice note that I got from a patient. She sent to us in the mail. She just started care a couple weeks ago. She had been under chiropractic care before and had a great chiropractic experience, but just wasn't doing all this corrective work and functional movement and all that. And she wrote this nice note, and I posted up inside of our Move Now chiropractors group. But it was this nice note of saying how she's so excited going through this process, loves interacting with us. She's excited for what the next 12 weeks have in store, and she's so committed. And in a conversation I was having with her and many other patients have a similar type of sentiment, is they basically say something to the extent of, how come I haven't heard about this sooner? How come someone else that I was seeing before didn't know about this? How come people have to, drive 4 hours away from other parts of the state to come see you guys? How come people have to get on a plane to come fly out to get this type of care? Why doesn't this exist in more places? And ultimately it's because this model is very unique, okay? It's taking the best of these three different worlds. Your specific chiropractic approach, that's what you doctors have, that's what you learn, that's what you work on. If you want to get more specific with it, never talk to us about it. I mean, we can tell you the world according to us, but granted, I've never tried to be technique specific in how we do this in Move Now, because I want to bring more chiropractors together and not alienate and isolate. But whatever specific approach you do, because we have Atlas orthogonal doctors, we have doctors that do, specific like drop table technique, we have Gonstead doctors, we have all this different stuff out there. The thing that unites it all is, how do you engage the patient? How do you teach them what they should be doing for the rest of their life? You're addressing segment, posture, and movement. And those three things is what is such a game changer in this. So patient after patient is telling me things like, hey, you know what? It's been so beneficial that you guys taught me how to actually bend forward, bend down, and pick up my child. No one's ever actually made sense to me that I'm supposed to hip hinge and I'm supposed to engage my core as I do that. And I wasn't able to do that before because, I was so tight in my low back and my hamstrings. But then to find out it wasn't just a stretching issue, it was a problem where my brain was putting the brakes on the muscle because I lacked stability. You guys taught me all that, and now I'm motivated, and I actually got a couple of kettlebells and I'm doing these movements at home, and this is awesome. You've changed my life, right? Now, to think you're gonna roll the dice and you're gonna say, I'm only gonna adjust people, okay? Because that's what I do as a chiropractor, and they're gonna find this from somewhere else. They're gonna go to a physical therapist and a personal trainer, and it's just all gonna magically come together, is like the craziest wishful thinking in the world. So on one end, you can think how I used to think like that, because that's how I used to think, was all I'm gonna do is adjust, and everything else is outside of my scope, or it's not my responsibility, and this is my expertise, and this is the most important thing that I can do for someone, is give them a great adjustment. Yes, it's very important, but to think like that, that's someone's life. That's someone that has trusted you to guide them and lead them on this path of changing everything from that point forward. They don't think that coming in your office initially. They come in thinking, I have low back pain, help me with my low back pain. And you, by having this arsenal and having the ability to communicate and connect with your patients, and that is huge, have this opportunity that this is what defines you. This is what you look back at the end of your life, and you think about all these people that you had this impact on. You have this chance to help change the path that they're going down. They're at the fork in the road. They could be just like everyone else out there, going through this lifestyle of using chiropractic as a painful aspirin, okay, for just pain relief, or they can understand this is about lifestyle. This is about changing their entire life. And so once you get infected with that truth, and I'm sorry if we had a piece of that or a hand of that of infecting you, and now life is more difficult because, man, it was so easy to practice this other way before, and now there's more systems needed. There's more staff needed to a certain extent, but some of our doctors doing this with like 1 or 2 staff, so don't be turned off by that, thinking that you need to have 15,000 staff. There's more moving parts, there is, but I'll tell you, the payoff as far as the fulfillment, the patient results, it is very lucrative as far as financially as well. And even though that's not what we lead with, you need that because that's what's going to justify all of this, because you're also not a free clinic. You also have to be able to pay your team and justify why patients are in the clinic longer going through this stuff. It's a higher level of service. It demands a higher reimbursement. It makes sense. So all those things, okay, as far as fulfillment, patient results, reimbursement, it's more lucrative. And also too, there's way more clout. There's way more respect. There's way more domination in your community that you are the expert. If an insurance company challenges you, if you go to court on an auto case, if some other doctor, wants to say, oh, that over there's a chiropractor, they shouldn't be doing this, this, and this, or like a physical therapist next door, like we have at our clinic that says chiropractors should never be teaching patients exercise. Okay, that was a true story. What did I do? I went over there like after my shift, and unfortunately those guys weren't there. I was gonna go have a nice talk with them. Still need to circle back over there again and have a little talk with them. When that kind of stuff happens, and when you can get in front of them and actually show you what you're doing, that speaks volumes. It earns the respect because it's such a comprehensive model. So if you're looking for that, get infected is what I said in this title. If you haven't watched our demo, it's demo.movenowu.com. You can watch a demo, you can see how the program is laid out, and cross that line if you're ready to get infected. Know that it's going to take some effort. It's going to take some work, but it is a fraction of what you are going to reap when you start to implement these processes. All right. So this last weekend, we had an impact event. We had a bunch of doctors and their staff come out. It was an awesome experience. Everyone had a great time. Everyone's at a different level of implementation, but everyone got a ton from it. They can see how this stuff works on a daily basis. I mean, I got to get off this right now because I got to get changed, get freshened up, take a shower so I can get over to the clinic, because our office manager, Brandy's on this Facebook Live right now going, you better hurry up. We're about to do our pre-shift huddle pretty soon so we can crank it out and start seeing our patients today. So with that said, check out the demo if you haven't already. Let us know what you think. Over and out.